I speak to business owners every single week who tell me they're working ridiculously crazy hours. Someone even told me they were working 16-hour days. They're exhausted, they're burnt out, and they think the problem is that they need more time. But here's what I know, here's what I've learned over time. After scaling multiple businesses myself and after watching hundreds of business owners scale, this is not a time problem, it's a structure problem. And today we're going to prove it. Welcome to today's episode of Business Growth Lab. I'm your co-host, Samantha Riley, alongside my fabulous Business Growth Lab bestie and husband, Leon Flitton. How are you, Leon?
Good. I was wondering, how are you going to introduce me today?
I know. I didn't even know that. You think I should have thought about that before I actually started? Yeah, I think so too, but that's what came out.
I just roll with it. It'll be fine.
Exactly. I think today, we're talking about time, right, Leon? I think we should dive right in because this is a big topic. I don't want to start off with another 9-minute story about me and my ballet as a child like I did last week. Kudos to anyone that sat through that. I didn't realize it was such a long story. But anyway, here we are. And thank you to the people that told me that they actually really enjoyed that story. I really appreciate when anyone reaches out and lets me know when they like something or when they don't like something. It makes it so much easier because we're sitting on this mic and it's nice to hear from the people that are listening. So, Leon, we've decided to do this episode as a follow-on from last week's episode where we talked about the 5 stages of business. And I wanted to dive into something specific that happens in stage 3, which is the constraint stage, because last week we talked about it being the messy middle, and I talked about it's the tax you need to pay to get to stage 4, which is scale, right? And I think a lot of people get confused about what that messy middle means, and they think it means you are working like ridiculously long hours, but it's actually not the case. And I think we need to dive deeper into this. But before we start, I know that I want to really call something out because there's going to be some people that are listening to this and think, you're full of BS, Sam and Leon. It's different for me. My industry is different. My clients are different. I've already tried that. And I just want to say I hear you because I've been there. When someone said this to me, my immediate reaction was, you don't live my life. Just take that thought and go elsewhere. There was a few swear words in my version, but I won't share them here. However, that resistance is the thing that's worth paying attention to because the people who push back on this, and like I did, are the ones that need to hear it the most. And like I said, I know because I was one of them. So if something comes up and you're thinking, absolutely not, I want you to take a breath and know that what we're talking about today is going to be shared from a place of care because I want other people to hear how much this changed my life and my business. This one piece here changed everything in my business. And then because my business changed, my life changed as well. And we want you to have the money or the funds that give you the opportunity to live the life you've always wanted. And let's face it, it's the reason you went into business in the first place, right? To have more money and more time. So we want to really break this topic down. There's going to be, we're going to share quite a bit. I'm going to share lots of stories again so you can hear that I've actually been through this and it is, for me, it was challenging. Maybe, hopefully, by hearing this episode, it won't be as challenging for you. But for me, it was a lot of introspection, a lot of identity shift, a lot of changing beliefs and the stories that were playing out for me and then bled into my business. And actually, one of the reasons that we wanted to dive into this is that someone said to us on a call last week that, you know, when we sort of dived into, well, what are you really doing this for? What are you really building this business for? Because when you get really clear on that, it helps you to move through those tough times where you're doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. And gosh, Leon, haven't we had a couple of weeks of that? Just,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, definitely.
we've had a very messy couple of weeks. And getting really clear on what it is that we want and why we're doing it makes it easier to go, let's just get this done, because we know that, we're building this for, XYZ reason. Anyway, someone said to us the other day that she wanted to create a business that she could look after her future grandchildren. So her children, or her son, has just got married, and they're already planning a family, and she wanted to have the business ability like we do, where we're able to look after our grandson, Charlie. This wasn't a plan that 10 years ago we kind of went, oh, let's set our business up so that one day in the future we can look after, a potential future grandchild. It's not something you do and plan for the future. It's actually a decision that you make today. And that's the first thing that we want you to know, that to create your business the way you have to make a decision today. And that decision is however you want your business to be. So I'm not going to work Fridays. I'm not going to work Mondays. I'm only going to do client delivery on Wednesdays. Whatever it is that you want to do, you're not making that decision for some time in the future. You're making it today so that you can create the differences or make the changes in your business so that things are still humming along. And I want to add that last piece, because there are some people that get really confused and think that having a day off just means walking away from your business.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you want to grow a profitable and a thriving business, that's not the case at all. You need to set it up so that your business is still running on the day that you're not there, or the days that you aren't there. There are other people and other systems, other automations, other processes that are still continuing to bring leads in, to make sales, to be able to deliver your service. All of these things still happen. Just having a day off doesn't mean everything just stops. So there are some changes that need to happen.
Yeah. Now, we're probably not going to do a 9-minute ballet story today, but there will be some stories. Yeah, obviously. But I just wanted to say it's probably be open when you listen to the episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's probably a case of leaving the emotion out of it and going more into your CEO mode, I think, today, and having and reflecting as well. So, but definitely remove the emotion from it, and I think, like Sam just said, then remember why you started it in the first place.
Why are you doing this thing? Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's funny you say remove the emotion, because I can remember, I would be able to almost draw a picture with photo-like quality. I can remember the moment so clearly when someone said to me, just do something different, when I was talking about doing these crazy hours and being stressed and tired. And he just said, well, do something different, change it. I swear to goodness, like with my full on Aries energy, I felt like a fireball. Like, how dare you? You're not in my world. You're not in my life. You don't know. You don't understand. However, so I was very full of emotion at that time. I got quite snipey with this person. Snippy? I don't know. I don't even know what the word is. So they're
Snipey,
probably both made up words. I wasn't a sniper. But it was in reflection later on that evening when I was home, and kind of took a breath and went, all right, well, what if that was the truth? What would need to change? What could change? And literally from the next day, so much in my world changed. So much. It was incredible. At that time, just to put it into context, I had 3 businesses. I had 3 children. Like, there was a lot going on. So it's not like I just had one business and no kids at home, or I was trying to work maybe a part-time job and get my business up. Like, all of those things are hard. I'm not saying they're not, but like, my life was absolute chaos. It was, everything moved so fast. And if I could do it back then with all of that going on, like, I hope that these stories help you to realize that anyone can do this. Anyone can make this decision and make the changes.
I've been, as you've been talking, contemplating how a lot of these things get programmed into our brain to start with.
Oh, yes, so
So
much.
yeah, and some of the times that I've gone, well, we have to do it this way, and you've just gone, yeah, but why? And I'm like, because, well, because isn't a very good reason. And so there's more, obviously it's deeper than because, and it's probably some kind of pre-programming, like in my case that I've had from years ago, and most people's cases, I would say the same thing, that it's pre-programming from something else. So it just the actual reason why you're doing this and how you've come about thinking about why you need to do certain things, it's most likely pre-programming.
Mm.
But just keep that in mind when we're going through. So be open-minded and yeah, let's get
I
into
want
it.
to start off by talking about the way we work now, because a lot of people are working from home, and this has really removed this like natural container that used to exist around work. So when I think back to the early 90s when I started business, we were in a commercial space. So went to work, put a key in the door. That's where we were. There was no mobile phones at that time. The phone was a landline. So you went to work, and when you locked the door at the end of the night and went home, that was the end. No one had your home number to give you a call. So you were kind of working like 9 till 5 ish. There was a few times where I worked from home if we had something big on, if there was some extra paperwork to be done, or like back in the day, we used to do like physical mail outs, and we used to pay our kids, you can have McDonald's for breakfast tomorrow on the way to school if you help stuff the envelopes, because they used to hate stuffing like envelopes. And,
Fair
oh, we
enough, too,
don't
really.
want to, but all right, we'll do it for hotcakes. But really, the office or your shop or your salon or your, whatever your commercial space was, your practice, you left there and then you stopped, and your computer stayed there. We didn't have a laptop that we took home either. There was no notifications. And I think that it's very different now because our laptop's always there. Our office is in the house that we're living in. There's not very many people that work in like their home office and shut the door and it's done, because they still have their phone with them, even if they do put their laptop in there. The notifications don't sleep. Something pops into your head and you think, oh, I'll just do that one more thing, and next thing you know, you've been on your laptop till 11 o'clock at night. But there's a stat that is really worth sitting with, and we've had to, and in all openness, Leon, we've had to just recently look at this ourselves, hadn't we? Because we'd let the boundaries go and we were
Yeah.
working crazy hours. And that stat is that knowledge workers, and that's what we all are as the experts in our business, can only truly be productive for around 3 to 4 hours a day. Like, it's not 8, it's not 12, it's certainly not 16. So if your most focused, high quality output is happening in 3 to 4 hours, what's filling the other 8? Like, it's not productive stuff. It really is not.
Yeah, yeah. You've probably come across it at some stage where you've been trying to do something and you've been tired, and then that's something you could probably knock out in about 30 minutes, but it's taken you 4 hours. And it's probably because you've started doing that 30-minute job like 8 hours into your workday. All of a sudden, it's now 12 hours, and the quality's terrible, and it's taken you 4 hours. So
yeah, I know for me, I don't love editing, and if there's an editing task that's been sitting there, and I pick it up at the end of the day, oh my goodness, all over. Like, I will just stare at it and move my cursor around for a ridiculous amount of time. Like, I know that's got to happen way earlier in the day for me. Yeah.
So, well, I used to, back in my supermarket days, talk about this, but essentially there's actually a name for what this is. And once you hear it and get to know about it, you kind of, you can't unsee it anymore. So it's actually called Parkinson's law. So I think it was coined in 1955-ish or so. And
oh, you think? I'm just going to casually drop. I think it was from 1955. You can tell who the data person is in this business, can't you?
And we have talked about this quite a lot and had to go
We
look it
have.
up because I'm like, no, this is this thing.
Yeah, there's this thing.
This thing. And essentially, it's the work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, if you've got like a task that, it takes, or you got 2 hours and somehow the task takes 2 hours, but it might have been a 30-minute task. It's kind of crazy. My little story here is that I used to run supermarkets at one stage, and we have a back dock area, right, where the stock comes in and you have the overstocks go, stuff like that. You could have a dock that's, like twice as big as it needs to be, and it just gets filled with stock. So the funny thing is, though, when you cut a dock size in half, it only gets filled to the same, like it gets filled full again. Not to the double the size though. So you don't have overstocks everywhere. It's in the dock. So yeah, but it will just fill that space. So it was very interesting to watch that in real life.
Totally. I mean, I can see this. I know that I can do it. If I leave myself weeks to prepare for a training or a webinar, something I'm creating a slide deck for, that slide deck will take however long I've put aside for it. And I can complete a slide deck in 30 to 40 minutes. If I've got it mapped out, which I do, I map everything out analog with paper and pen. And if I've done that properly and now I've got a process where I just like type the words onto the slide deck, make sure it's all done, and then, then it gets made look pretty. Sometimes I do it, sometimes the team does it. Yet there are other times that it's taken me weeks to do because I've filled the time. And that's why I actually think this is why mums with school-aged children build really robust businesses, because they've only got between 9 and 3. They've only got short hours to do things, and they know that they have to get their business up and running. And like, what a mum with young kids can do. Like, they're just a breed of their own, like super mums, crazy. And there's some really, really big businesses that have been built by mums that are like, yep, that's all I've got, and I had to do it. We were talking with one at a mastermind only a few months ago. She's got massive, massive business. And even I said to her at the time, my goodness, how do you do it? She went, because I've only got till 9 to 3. Like, I have to make it happen. Super, super focused. So 80-hour weeks don't produce 80 hours of output. They're filled with a lot of fluff. And you end, with Parkinson's law, you stretch that out, plus the mental residue of never switching off. Like, it just bleeds into everything, right? You need the container. You need a container. You need a container to create the constraint, because it's the constraint that creates the focus. And without that container, your work doesn't finish. It just continues.
And I think this is huge. This is the massive part of it, is it's the identity that's attached to why you're doing the long hours. Why you do, and this is what I find very interesting as well, and it's probably a lot more to do with, how are you attaching the identity of the business to yourself, or using, is your business now your identity, or whichever way you're going to look at it. So I don't think the long hours are always about how much workload there is, and I think it's more about the identity of yourself.
Totally, because I think we're as children, through movies, through the stories that we're told at school. Some of the times it's, we're told this by my parents. Like, I remember my dad took us out for dinner to say, hey, I'm taking you out to this fancy place to dinner because I want you to know that if you work really hard, you can have nice things like this. Well, what I made that mean in my head was that I had to work a ridiculous amount. I had to change what work hard meant, like what the content, what the definition of work hard meant, if that makes sense. And I remember I've been super lucky to have so many mentors in my life, and one of them was my very first. He wasn't my boss; he was the owner of the McDonald's store that I worked at, and I used to. I've talked about this so much. I used to sit on his desk and go, cool, Chris, tell me everything that I need to know about owning a business. Like, how do I do what you do? And he mentored me for quite a few years when I started my business. And one of the things he said to me is, you need to find the best people to do the work. It's not you that's doing the work. You need to find the best people to do the work. And that really helped me, because in my head, the story I was telling myself is, I need to be the best one. I need to be the one that knows all the things. I need to be the one that's doing all the work. And it's actually not true. And in actual fact, once I really took that lesson, that was when I started to make better hiring decisions. I hired some amazing people that probably at the time made me really nervous, because I was paying them more than it felt comfortable to pay them. But it paid off in that it took my business to another level. So I was the visionary. I was the one that had the ideas. I was the conductor of the orchestra. And I had all of these people that were absolute specialists in what they did. And I had to really let go of my ego, because if I'm going to be super, super honest, I had a lot of self-worth tied up in being that most important person in the business. Being the person that had to be there, being the one that held everything together, being the person that, that was the face of it, that did everything. Because I still had this story, right? I was still that little girl inside who was trying to make my dad proud by being the one that worked hard. There was a lot of work that I had to do around my identity to let that story go, because what I had to learn was the goal isn't to be the most important person in the business. The goal was to build something that didn't rely on any one person, like not any staff member, not me, not anyone, because that's actually a lesser version of success.
Because I think I'm thinking as well, just while we're talking about this, is that stuff breaks. So you need to be prepared to actually let go of some of these things, stop doing those long hours, and it's going to break. Also, too, if you do too many long hours, you're going to break stuff anyway because you're too tired.
Tired.
Anyway,
yep.
Absolutely. But let's keep moving on. What do you think is actually hiding behind the being busy day, Sam?
I think that there's a lot, and like we've said, that already we've talked about the identity, but I think one of the other things is not understanding how to get your team to get the work done, I guess.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot, where people hire a team and then they delegate tasks to them, but there's no system, there's no SOP, there's no procedure. So the team member doesn't know exactly what it is they're trying to do. And then they take a guess, and then they get it, I'm going to put this in air quotes, wrong, according to the business owner, because they don't know what they're doing. And it's both. The business owner doesn't share the big vision, like, this is what we're trying to do. I've got this big project here. These are all the things that need to be done. This is the criteria that needs to be checked off to know that we've had a success, we've done this successfully. We will know that this project hasn't been successful if these things haven't been done. And by sharing a project in that way, gives the team the understanding of what to move on with. So there's a difference between a project and a task. And I see a lot of people just delegating tasks. Hey, can you do this thing? Can you do this thing? And then in between, the team members like twiddling their thumbs going, I don't know what to do next. And then the business owner gets really frustrated and goes, well, you haven't gone on with anything. And the poor team member's like, well, I don't know what's going on. So there's it's a whole other episode.
Yeah.
And also, when you delegate to your team these little tasks, a lot of times they're just low value activities that are like masquerading as productivity. They're these little tiny things that have no processes, and it means that the team member also can't take ownership of linking that task to whatever the next thing is to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes it hard to be responsible for it also as well if you don't know what it is actually linked to what it needs to do. So you kind of do like a task, but then how do you know that what the next thing is or what needs to be done so that that task actually has some kind of a has some kind of bearing on what's actually going to happen? You don't know, and then you can't tell if it's been successful or not either. That's
That's
the other
right.
thing.
Well, also the decisions, if you're just delegating tasks, that you're going to be in decision fatigue because you're going to be thinking, what's next? What do I need to do next? What do I find them to do? Oh my goodness, this project hasn't been done. Oh my goodness, this like blah, blah, blah. It goes on, right? But when
Yeah.
you're able to share a vision, this is the project where the team member can break it down into the tasks, where the team member can create the SOPs that have they're the one that's in the work. Maybe they say there's a better way to do this. If you give them
Yeah.
the the ability to and empower them to be able to make those decisions, then they're making the decisions. You don't even have that decision, all of those decisions in your head anymore.
Yeah, well, there's that bit we need to transfer a bit of authority to them so they can actually make some decisions or at least be aware of them. But I'm thinking of a scenario where you've got someone that's trying to do 80 hours a week as the business leader, and then they get a VA in, for example, and then they spend more time on top of the 80 hours finding like work for the VA.
Yeah.
Then they go, that job wasn't done because they never delegated it in the first place properly. So then they get more work on top of that, and then they go, well, the VA's not helping me.
Yes, totally. Look, the difference between getting a team member and managing the tasks and being able to be a leader and be able to have multiple projects on the go is a skill set in its own. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, that's me, like, don't worry, we weren't taught this at school. We weren't taught how to think like this or to work like this. So don't have a little panic attack. Just at the moment, just be aware that this is what's happening and that there is a way through it. And certainly that's what we help people with in the work that we do.
Yeah, yeah. But you can see here as well that the mindset part is really tripping people up.
Totally.
It's really keeping them stuck.
Yeah, because I think that when you're in that position where it's like, oh, I've got a team member and they're still busy and they're like, oh my goodness, it's like they've got this like little gold badge, like I'm successful because I'm super busy now. But I can guarantee you, I can absolutely 100% guarantee you that if you're that busy, you're not doing the things that need to be done to move the business forward, or you're not just doing those things. You're doing a whole lot of other things that are not important.
Yeah, yeah. You can guarantee that there was a trade-off between, if you've gone and done a job that your VA was supposed to do, that you should have been doing something else in that time that now isn't done, that's either broken something or it's just missed out or you got to go do it later. So yeah, like there's always a trade-off.
Totally. And I think that this is a lot of the, last week we talked about, the constraint stage, and you pay the tax of doing different work or working differently to get to stage 4, which is scale. And a lot of people slip back into stage 2, which is operator stage, because they're drowning in work and decisions and not making the identity shift and not making the, being a different person and working in a different way and making decisions in a different way. So it's so much more comfortable to go back to stage 2 and get caught in the busy work and stay stuck. So, when we talked last week about slipping back and being comfortable in stage 2, this is specifically what we're talking about. It's continuing to work in the same way, in the same style, making decisions in the same way, doing the same kind of work. At stage 3, if you're in the constraint stage, you need a new identity. You need to make decisions differently. You need to do different work. You need to hand off projects and get people to help you. You need to let go of that self-worth that's tied up in the work so that you can create the space to do what you need to do to move forward. Ooh. There we go. I got all passionate and almost knocked my drink over.
Just settle down, all right?
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this identity part of it.
It's the biggest piece. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking when you get a VA on, right, you free up time. So instead of doing 80 hours a week, you can now do less hours, whatever that means hour-wise. But there's sometimes, as a business owner now, if you're in the knowledge space and you're the expert, you aren't being paid by the hour. At least I hope you're not. And you should be being paid for a result. That doesn't mean you have to work 80 hours a week because someone's paying you, though. They're paying for the result. So when you have more time available, so all of a sudden, instead of doing 80 hours, I don't know, maybe you're doing 60 hours, 50 hours, or whatever it is, you start to almost get a guilt complex because you're going, I'm not working.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I see this all the time where people get uncomfortable because they're, especially as you sort of get down in the 10 to 20 hours, it's like, oh my goodness, like my team is working more than I am. It's a very weird feeling.
Yeah, yeah. But then you go, what did you build it for in the first place?
Yeah, you're the one.
Was it freedom?
Exactly. And you're the one that's put everything on the line, right? You're the one that's put your money on the line, your time on the line, your future opportunities or your future on the line. Like, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, so I think you've really got to remember that piece as well. Like, you made the investment in time and money to start your business and to build it. So if there's a reward, then you shouldn't feel guilty about having the reward, which is having a business that runs properly. So
yeah, exactly.
Doing what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. So I think the real cost that we're talking about here is, like, what's that 80-hour week actually costing you? Because it actually goes way beyond being tired or burnout. It's actually missing what's happening in your life right now, like not someday in the future. It's, friends going out for, Melbourne Cup lunch and you saying, no, I can't go. It's I can't go out for coffee with a friend. It's sometimes it's just an ordinary Tuesday that you can't get back. So the decisions you're making about, am I going to miss out on whatever this is, or am I going to work in my business? Those two things can't coexist, right? You can't scale a business that only works when you're working those 80 hours because that's just a super exhausting job. So something has to give. And if you don't choose what gives, is that right? If you don't choose what is going to someone else's plate or what you're not going to do, if you don't make that decision, your business will actually choose it for you. So it's super, super important to get really, really clear. Let's talk about how to do this, Leon, because I really want people to walk away and have a business that funds the life that they want. So they've got the opportunity, the choice to be able to do things that they want to do. Because, God, I cannot say this enough. This is why you're doing what you're doing. And you don't need to choose, I'm doing this or my business, because you can do both. There's a couple of things. Number one, you need to protect your time like an absolute time ninja. You need to set a hard, I'm starting at this time and I'm stopping at this time, and you need to protect it at all costs. You need to choose a finish time and you need to treat it like a meeting that you can't cancel, all right? Because the work will reorganize itself around that constraint.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think you really need to do is a time audit, because this is where you need to be honest with yourself, because this is where you start to see, oh, okay, things aren't exactly what I thought they were. I challenge you to get a piece of paper or an iPad or put it in a computer. However, I always say analog paper. I do everything by paper and pen. Every single thing that you do in your business, even at 15-minute increments, write them down. Like Monday, 10:15 a.m., scrolling Instagram. Like, actual write it down. Monday, 10:30 a.m., reading an email for the 5th time instead of just answering it. Like Monday, 11 o'clock. Oh, am I going to do, some blah, blah, blah this week? Like, write every single thing down in 15-minute or 30-minute increments and Write it all down. So at the end of the week, you've got a really big picture of what you've actually done. And I think you'll be very, very surprised by the noise that you're dealing with in your business and the gaps that you're just filling with work. Because if you've got, like, say, a 20-minute window between calls, that's not a work session. It's just like a buffer. However, that buffer, sometimes your best thinking happens in that space. Leon, about, gosh, I don't know, maybe for a couple of months, we made the decision that on Wednesday mornings, we have a training session. And what I noticed was at the end of that Q&A call that my brain's kind of checked out for a bit. I used to try and work, and we noticed that I was being fluffy for probably at least a couple of hours of just really doing nothing productive. So what we do now is, as soon as we've finished that call on Wednesdays, we actually we leave the house, we go out for coffee, and we take paper and pen, because I definitely am more creative with analog, and we do big picture stuff. And that gets me back in the zone, because I get really excited about big picture stuff. It also means that we can then relay to the team, hey, this is what we're working on next. These are the projects. This is what we're heading towards. These are the big things that we need finished by the end of the week. Because sometimes, you don't just want to work from Monday to Friday. It's good to have a check-in on Wednesdays. And so creating that buffer has actually made us way, way, way more productive. Oh my goodness, I nearly hit my drink again.
What would that drink ever do to you?
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's actually quite a lot of things that we do, and a lot of other things that I probably want to talk about, and I think it'll be a lot more future episode kind of stuff. But that time audit is crucial to knowing what's actually going on, and you need to be a bit brutal about it. So I think, I might be, because I do some hands-on stuff as well, like it's, what I do. But I think about, what if CEO Leon was looking over my shoulder and be going, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Would CEO Leon be sacking Leon because he was really not being effective?
Give him a talking to,
CEO Sam would have really given Sam a talking to on a few occasions.
Well, and that's right. But and that's where, you've got to look at, okay, well, if I've got a team, what are the team doing it or whatever else? Like, don't cave, and if something wasn't done quite the way you want it, you don't cave and then do it yourself. You got to get up, back to the team, fix it up. But that part of, like, you're actually working at what you're doing and when you're doing it as well, because I found that quite an issue for me, because I like to be able to go out and have coffee, and it's more the fact of going out of the house for a bit to like reset, and then you kind of go again.
Yes.
Even I think about like the things like, if you have a 90-minute block, by the end of a 90-minute block, you need to have a break for a minute. Well, I do anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
I just think you lose productivity and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I'd love to see what some of the listeners write down for what they do when they hit the 8-hour mark, the 10-hour mark. Like, what are you actually doing there?
Yeah,
and how long things take you? Like, you look back at the time, and it's an insanely long amount of time. Something that should take you 30 minutes, it's taking you 4 hours because you're going in circles. Like that's a thing that happens. So that's why that time audit is really interesting.
We did a time audit sort of in a different way a few weeks ago, where we really looked at how we both work. You and I, Leon, work really, really well first thing in the morning from quite early. So we actually get up and start working straight away, which, the experts tell you shouldn't do. But we have noticed that it works really well for us. And I noticed that on the days where we were training early in the morning, and then we sort of came home, and then we faffed around and had some breakfast and a shower and blah, 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 we weren't getting into work till like 10 o'clock in the morning. And we'd actually lost our most productive hours. And we both noticed that we were sort of faffing in the day. And just recently we've started doing it differently, of jumping into work and actually going to the gym at lunchtime and having a later lunch. It's working way better for us, isn't it? Way better for us. So it means we're finishing our day, or some days we don't go back and do work in the afternoon, but then other days it's like, well, we go to the gym, we come home, we have lunch, and we might jump into some more work at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But we're having, that 12 o'clock till 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. We're not working in those hours because we noticed that we were just faffing during those hours. So it's also being really aware of how you work. And there's no point sitting at a desk for 4 hours and doing no work. Like, what's the point of that? May as well go, clean the garage or go for a walk or
but even again, the mindset part of it, going, who said you can't go to the gym in the middle of the day?
Exactly.
Who said you can't just stop for a minute, go for a coffee, come back again? Who said you can't do that?
That's exactly right. We are the owners of our business, and it's our choice, our rules. If you've been listening and there are certain things that have really stung, maybe some things triggered you, maybe you got grumpy at us, maybe you got grumpy at yourself, just stop and breathe and feel into the resistance and just get really honest with yourself. Just ask yourself, what if? And allow yourself just to go down that path, keeping the emotion out, just like what if? The emotion can come in when you go, what if I could take 3 days off this week to go lie by the pool? What if I could take a whole week off to go and do this thing? What if I only worked mornings this week so that I could go out for lunch every day? And then feel, how does that feel in my body? Because where that feeling is, where that excitement is, that's the thing that's going to help you to make the decisions of what needs to change. So the big reframe that we want to leave you with today is more hours isn't the answer. It's better structure. You need better structure. This isn't a simple fix. Hang on. Let me say that again. It's not an easy fix, but it is simple. Simplicity is the structure. There are going to be multiple parts to this that won't happen tomorrow, but it's about really stepping into that identity of making different decisions and mapping this out, because the business owners who scale, they don't find more time. They just find the right container for the time that they have. They stop confusing busy with progress. They stop getting their identity from being needed, and they start building a business that funds that life that they really, 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 truly want to live. So if you're stuck in that 80-hour loop right now, just know there is a way out. It does require some changes, but it is doable. It is available to you.
I just want to leave you with as well that you are the business owner, and you are the CEO, and you can run it by your rules.
Yeah. Your business, your rules. So if this landed for you today, if you got a little bit of inspiration to change something, if you feeling like you've got a little bit of hope there is hope on the other side. Come and find us on Instagram. We've got our handles just below. Send either Leon or myself a DM and just let us know, hey, can you help me fix these bottlenecks? And we would very happily get on a call with you onto a scale session and help you map out exactly where the bottlenecks are, exactly what's breaking, and what your next steps are to change this week, because that's when you can change it, like this week. If you know someone else who needs to hear this episode, please share it with them. They probably won't admit they need it, but share it anyway, because you'll be sharing it out of love that we can all do this. So Leon, thanks for joining me for another episode. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week on another episode of Business Growth Lab. Ciao.